Hey everybody, welcome back to the Court of Random Opinion. My name is Lauren Neidigh. Sorry I'm late, but I was so busy sitting here reading comments about how late I am. so, you know, um, sorry, I was at my mom's house and I was trying to get here as fast as I could. I set this up earlier today because I knew this was coming tonight. I expected it to be a couple hours later though, so I was caught off guard a little bit. I'm leaving town again tomorrow, so I've had a lot going on. Also had work all day. So I'm gonna try to keep up while I'm gone. There should be a couple things coming out next week, I think, but things have slowed down pretty significantly. So I haven't been on this as much as I had been. There just hasn't been as much to talk about. You guys know I don't get into the pop culture side of things as much. I'm really more interested in the official stuff. Every now and then I'll kind of venture out, but not too much. So I haven't had too much to say on the topic since that recording came out. There was like over a week between then and a couple days ago when I went over that sanctions motion, not the one today that was even crazier, but the one with the evidence spoliation claims. So yeah, I had another case that I'd been working on long before I ever came across this one, and so I've been kind of caught up with that again. I traveled out last week, and the psycho who is behind the mess decided not to show up for court. So now it's supposed to happen next week, so I'm going all the way back. And then, she probably still won't show up, but, I'll find something else to do. I always do. I like traveling, so I've been home for a little bit, so it's all good. Um, but yeah, I keep up here as much as I can. I'm just mostly sticking to the docket stuff. So that's why you might not see me as much while I got all this going on. Plus, I was supposed to take the LSAT next week, but I decided to put it off because I'm just not ready for that right now. I got a lot of stuff going on. I just want to kind of clear the air on that before I can really think about anything else. So, yeah. Why don't we get into this? So this is a 62-page document, and we're looking at the second amended counterclaims. So we're not going to go over the initial part of the document, which is just their responses, basically to Stephanie Jones' claims. We're going to skip down to the actual counterclaims, and we'll run through that. I'm also going to skim over some of the stuff that is older. That's basically the same outline, the very beginning of it, but we'll get through most of it. Let's see. Also, I don't know if you guys saw, but kind of a bummer. Andy's still dealing with this subpoena, and she's mad because he, did the documentary footage and all that, and he's got the crew members who participated in that documentary, and so she obviously wants his material. She wants his communications, which I think is ridiculous, honestly, and I think that hopefully it will end up going his way. But the judge down here in Florida, where he filed, doesn't seem to have a lot of experience with this kind of thing as far as like journalists and their rights go. At least that was my understanding. But she's, trying to be very thorough and get everything. So it's like, yes, it's a long process, but it seems like it's going the way that it's supposed to go. Like you want the judge to want to really get at it and not just, well, let's say I've seen worse. So, yeah, I'm sure Michelle could tell you more about that. Who's in the chat right now? But let's get into some of this stuff. I'm probably gonna take the face cam off while I'm reading, just because I don't know, it's easier on me. Okay. All right. So let's look up to the top here. I want to start kind of where I know they were talking about Stephanie Jones in the toxic work environment. They talked about the background of her like contract and all of that, how she started working for Jones Works and what was going on with that. Hopefully the mic is working okay, guys. Let's see. Like I said, I'm going to skim over the stuff that's very similar or the same, because we're just looking for the newer stuff. Remember, they did not have an HR department. They didn't have written internal policies regarding the use of electronic devices. And that's a big thing because Jen Abel's, she had her work phone. It was a JonesWorks issued device, but she attached it to her personal phone number that she had had for a very long time, which is apparently standard in the PR industry. I don't know too much about that, but I've read enough about it now. Because when I first saw that, I was like, why the hell would you like send this stuff from a work phone? But I didn't really understand how kind of how much like personal involvement went into the communications and the PR phones. So if that makes any sense, I'm not saying that correctly, but I think you guys know what I mean. So yeah, seems like they are trying to figure out ways to pay everyone's bill. I don't know, man. All right. Okay. Going over that. Sorry, I'm just going through some of this background stuff. Here we go. This is where I want to start. Okay. By Abel's second year, Jones appeared to be deteriorating. Abel began to harbor increasing concerns about Jones' mental stability and ability to manage client and employee relations. At around this time, Jones started making FaceTime calls to Abel and other employees at notably odd hours. Jones' communications frequently tracked through the night and into the next morning, suggesting that she had not been sleeping at all. And I remember initially reading this, and it was some sort of like paranoid, manic state that she seems to be, well, at least that's how they described her, Concurrently, and likely related, Jones became noticeably more paranoid and irascible, often accusing Abel and others of plotting against her. It became more challenging to communicate with Jones, settle her nerves, or even track her train of thought. Okay. Due to extremely draconian NDAs, Jones' threats, and the climate of fear pervading past and present Jones Works employees and clients alike, Jones' worst excesses were largely hidden from view until in or around May 2024, when Puck reported that Sanchez and Johnson had dropped Jones as their publicist. So Johnson, I assume, is The Rock. While these were among the most prominent and publicly reported departures, a cascade of Jones Works clients began cutting ties with Jones, especially after word spread that Business Insider was contacting Jones' former and current clients and employees about a forthcoming article about her sordid behavior. On May 8th, 2024, a website called Stephanie Jones Leaks went live, along with an X.com account, a Facebook page, a Reddit account, and a Pinterest page. These platforms disclosed a litany of alarming allegations about Jones' behavior and business practices, many concerning Jones' mistreatment of Jones Works employees and clients. Okay. So there was also a second website that went up. It was called Stephanie Jones Lies, I think. So this one got taken down. Then there was that one. And there was some other site when that second one got taken down that, like, it went up on it. It looked like maybe somebody from the old website had started it, but it was on kind of a sketchy page. And there was not really any way to contact them or anything like that. So I'm not sure if that's like how legit that is. But yeah. Okay. Abel had no involvement of any kind in Stephanie Jones' leaks. These revelations caused a firestorm in Hollywood, resulting in a surge of negative publicity regarding Jones, including the publication of the Business Insider piece entitled, "Who's Afraid of Stephanie Jones?" Not me, bitch. Abel was not responsible for the Business Insider piece and learned of it for the first time from Jones herself in or around late May or early June 2024. Okay. We don't have to get too much into this Business Insider thing because I know that we've been over that a lot. Sorry, I was checking that phone real quick. Okay. One of the employees, I guess, said, "I don't think there was one day in the office that someone wasn't crying." I remember this part. When employees called in sick, Jones would FaceTime them to confirm they were actually sick. In at least one instance, an employee who had taken a personal day to attend a funeral received a FaceTime call from Jones during the ceremony. And guys, Stephanie Jones' psychic ain't shit, or she would have known that was coming. Okay? Jones was apparently suspicious of his whereabouts. And yeah, so here they're talking about when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson dropped her after some clashes. I know we've gone over that before. She was also dropped by Bezos, Sanchez, Lainey Wilson, Chris Hemsworth, Wheels Up, Ocean Spray, and Partake Foods. Girl, take the meds. I take them. They're great. Take the meds. Come on. Through it all, Abel remained loyal to Jones, sticking with her through thick and thin, despite growing doubts about Jones' ability to function professionally. By 2024, however, Jones had become increasingly embittered and hostile towards Abel. Jones frequently criticized Abel's management, manifested extreme paranoia about Abel's close relationships with clients and partners, and went out of her way to reprimand, demean, and embarrass Abel in front of junior employees she oversaw. Over time, Abel's concerns about Jones' obvious downward spiral was heightened by the reality that there was no bottom in sight. In the final months of Abel's tenure, Jones had become even more erratic, clearly not sleeping, calling at all hours of the night in a frenzied state, senselessly pitting her own employees against each other, focusing her energy on catching employees in perceived acts of disloyalty, lowering morale still further, and torching her relationships with remaining Jonesworks clients. This is why I'm saying maybe, lady, it's time to drop the psychic, because clearly she's not doing you any favors if you can't figure this shit out before you ruin everything, you know? All right, hold on. Hey, Bruce, what's up? Kim, thank you for the $10. Pacer bucks, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay. Although Jones had always been volatile, she now appeared to be actively unraveling. Abel was frequently on the receiving end of her often bizarre outbursts. In one instance, Jones announced to Abel's subordinates that she had learned through psychic readings that Abel was an alcoholic and a gambling addict. So she could tell you that, but she couldn't tell you your employee was at a funeral? You fucking idiot. Even if these statements were true, Jones' public announcement would be, at best, highly inappropriate. Here, however, the accusations are not remotely true. They have literally no basis in reality, and the employees to whom Jones made her pronouncement were well aware of that. While Jones presumably intended to undermine Abel's credibility, she had actually significantly undermined her own and raised alarm about whether Jones was in the midst of a mental breakdown. I mean, I think we're long past raising the alarm on that one. On a different occasion, Jones announced again, per her psychic, that Abel would soon be pregnant with twins, humiliating and infuriating Abel, who Jones knew had struggled with fertility issues. Good fucking lord. Abel was also disgusted by Jones' pattern and practice of creating fake social media accounts to troll former employees and journalists she deemed hostile, including Puck's Matt Baldoni. Jones was obsessed with Baldoni in particular. I don't know if you say it like baloney, but that's how I'm saying it in my head. So, I mean, you can correct me, but I'm probably just going to keep saying baloney. Abel also witnessed Jones working with journalists to plant and contribute to negative stories about former Jonesworks clients who had fired Jonesworks/Jones. When Abel requested that Jonesworks offer its Los Angeles employees a modest 2% cost of living raise, Jones, who spent obscene amounts of Jonesworks money on lunches, champagne, and manicures, told her that if that were to happen, it would have to come from Abel's paycheck. And this lady wonders why there are like multiple websites about her. Like, this is crazy. What a nut job. BRB buying a champagne vending machine? That sounds awesome. You should probably get your nails done too, Bruce. Alright. Already pushed to the brink, Abel finally had enough when Jones demanded she corroborate falsified accusations about Lauren, come on. About a senior Jonesworks employee in an effort to drive him out. When Abel refused to go along with it, Jones responded with mockery, calling her a 12-year-old drama queen. On or about July 10th, 2024, Abel notified Jones of her departure from Jonesworks. Abel later confirmed her decision on July 26th and communicated her intention to start her own business. Abel offered a 6-week transition period ending on August 23rd, which Jonesworks accepted. On August 7th, Abel contacted Jones' chief of staff, Gordon Duran, to coordinate the release of her phone number, as Jones had promised when Abel had first joined Jonesworks several years before. Duran agreed, stating, sorry, I'm trying not to hiccup right now. Or burp, I guess. You guys didn't need to know that. You know what? Give me a sec. Yep, that's better. This is redacted. So there's going to be some redacted stuff in here because it's just like new information. So some of that's probably come from deposition and some of it is, I don't know, just sealed stuff. Discovery. Jones and Jonesworks knew that Abel had used the same phone number since high school and used the phone for both personal matters and business. She used the phone to exchange personal text messages with friends and family, personal photographs, and confidential financial data. At no point during her tenure did Abel consent to allowing Jonesworks to access, review, or monitor the contents of the phone. Okay, so we kind of know this part, right? We've heard a lot about how this went down. In early August 2024, Jones directed Jurin to investigate how to gain access to Abel's texts and call history on her telephone from JonesWorks provider Verizon. Jurin was only able to obtain Abel's call and text logs for the prior 6 months. Jones instructed Jurin to make sure that Abel could not port her phone number away from the JonesWorks plan without JonesWorks permission. By mid-August, Jones had hatched a plan to seize Abel's phone outright. She sent Jurin to California on August 19th and set the plan in motion. So here we're talking about how they stole her private data and communications off that phone. Okay, so a lot of this is going to be stuff we've seen before, but there is going to be some new information. Unfortunately, a lot of it's redacted, as you can see right here in 61. 1 sec. I'm going to take a sip of water real quick. Sorry about that. Wait, who's drinking Buzzballs? I don't know if you guys were on the streams the last couple nights, but we did we did some fundraising stuff this week, and we spun a wheel, and me and Bruce were doing it, and then whoever it landed on had to like eat or drink something, and I made Bruce drink like nasty liquor, which was fun, and then I had to eat stuff I'd never eaten before, which was terrible. What color do I paint my nails? That's up to chat, Bruce. It's out of my hands. All right. My dog's poop color is Blake Crown. All right. I'm going to go back to the document. You guys are weird. Okay. Jones had insisted on security presence so they could, and of course this is the redacted stuff. Jurin later testified, so I guess it's from his deposition. During the August 21 meeting, Jurin demanded that Abel hand over her phone and provide her passcode. In a ruse to induce Abel's compliance, Jurin falsely claimed that JonesWorks needed the passcode to facilitate the release of the phone number and reset the phone. Believing Jurin's representations and intimidated by the presence of a large security guard, an attorney, and a forensic data technician, Abel complied with the demands. So we know that she didn't consent to any of that. She didn't feel like she had a choice. They fooled her and made her believe that if she went to a Verizon store and called them, they would release her phone number that she had. We're not going to read word for word these paragraphs because we've heard a lot about that. We know that they, in fact, did not release her phone number, and they ghosted. Okay. By refusing to release Abel's phone number, JonesWorks usurped Abel's digital identity and cut off her access to critical accounts protected by two-factor authentication. Okay, so she lost access to bank accounts, utilities, insurance, and virtually every other sensitive account. By contrast, Jones gained unrestricted access to everything stored on Abel's phone, her texts, emails, and personal photos. Jones could read her communications with her fiancé, parents, friends, everyone, to ensure she would retain Abel's data under any eventuality, and this is redacted. But I'm going to assume, and again, this is just my thinking based on what we know, what we've read in these complaints before, and the context we have. I'm going to assume maybe that has something to do with the cloud. I obviously can't say for sure, but I know that they were saying that she was continuing to obtain, read, distribute, whatever, Abel's messages through iCloud. So I'm assuming this has something to do with that, but I can't tell you for sure. So the next day, using her new phone number, Abel begged Jurin and Jones to relent. Okay. So she's texting them. She says, Steph Gordon, who is Jurin, this is Jen Abel, my new cell. I'm writing you both as a personal plea to please release my cell phone number. This is the same number I've had since high school. This isn't a work-related thing. This is my personal number that is linked to all of my bills, my medical, Chris's dad's living facility, and all of my personal emails and accounts. And due to two-factor authentication, I can't access anything. Okay. Gordon, you wrote me numerous times you were going to release this. And then when Verizon was calling you during the 4 hours I was there yesterday, you never picked up. They said you never even started the process after you told me you did. The lawyer I was ambushed with yesterday even said this was fine to do. I've been nothing but good to you both, but this is just mean and egregious, and I'm begging you to please release it before I travel tomorrow. Please. You have no use for a 904. 904? Is she from where I'm from? Huh, interesting. I have a 904 number. If you want to know what it is, I guess just go to jingrislaw.com. Fuck. Uh, you have no use for a 904 number. That's been in my personal cell number before you took on the billing. It takes one phone call. Please. All right. What is with you guys in Buzzballs? Am I the only one who hasn't drank Buzzballs? Check out the TikTok. Champagne. Oh, Jonesworks has a champagne vending machine. I thought Bruce was just being random. Thank you, Michelle. That's interesting. All right. After usurping control of Abel's private communications, Jones began exploiting them to harm Abel further. Specifically, Jones scoured Abel's text messages to find instances where Abel had privately been critical of or gossiped about any former Jonesworks colleagues and shared them with those individuals and others. As a result, Abel saw long-term professional and personal relationships fracture. Wow. Okay, so Jen writes this text, which we've seen before, but we'll read it anyways. This text to a former colleague at Jonesworks. She says, just know that whatever she, I'm assuming Stephanie Jones, is telling you guys about me, or what I've done, it's not true. I've enjoyed working with you both and wish you nothing but the best. And then the former colleague says, unfortunately, your company phone says otherwise. So she was showing everyone what was on the company phone from the personal phone number, like personal communications and shit like that. Rose is wild. I've been getting spam called by a 904 number recently. Well, if you just pick up the phone, I wouldn't have to keep calling. Just kidding, I don't call people. All right. Let's see. Jonesworks senior executives were positively gleeful as they watched Abel's closest colleagues turn against her. Among the communications reviewed, discussed, and disseminated by Jones and her cohorts were highly intimate messages between Abel and her friends about their sex lives, and this is redacted. This exchange, along with many others of a similar personal nature, are no longer in the exclusive possession, custody, and control of Abel, and those she intended to communicate with, as they should have remained just in her exclusive possession. Instead, they were widely distributed by Jones to her team, to Lively, to the press, and to untold others, and ultimately Bates-stamped and captured for posterity in this and the related litigation. That's brutal, man. All right. Also stolen by Jones were Abel's communications with her long-term partner and fiancé, as well as her parents. This is fucked up, man. These include discussions between Abel and her fiancé about Abel's fertility, and between Abel and her parents about her mother's serious health challenges. Some of these messages, which Abel does not even have due to the theft of her phone number, were produced by Jonesworks in this litigation. Reams of other sensitive messages were excluded from Jonesworks' document production, but clearly are, or at least were, in Jones' possession. This cannot be reasonably disputed given that Jones directed her digital forensics team to copy Abel's phone in its entirety, which they did. Based on the evidence thus far in this case, Jones closely, even maniacally, inspected these materials. In so doing, Jones attained unvarnished visibility into the most sensitive and private aspects of Abel's life, her fertility struggles, her fiancé's father's neurological decline, and her financial situation. Jones also obtained all of Abel's personal photos, which run the gamut in subject matter. I think that just means there's like a variety, but were almost invariably not intended for the consumption of Jones, Lively, or any other hostile actors. Oh boy. Not only did Jones steal communications of a personal nature, but she also stole privileged communications between Abel and Jessup regarding Abel's new business. Jones did so knowing full well that Jessup was Abel's attorney. There's some redaction there. In sum, Abel was subject to a boundless and disgraceful invasion of her privacy by Jones and Jonesworks. She's been left aghast, humiliated, and terrified. Having torched Abel's privacy and dignity, Jones started boasting internally that Abel's business would not last long. All right, so now we get into the Wayfarer Baldoni accounts. And again, I'm going to skim over anything that's been kind of covered before. So, For almost 4 years, Abel largely managed Jones' work for Wayfarer Studios and Justin Baldoni out of its Los Angeles office. We knew that. Okay. Jones considered them to be a lower prestige client and devoted her attention to clients such as Jeff Bezos and Tom Brady. We knew that. Okay. At the time, Wayfarer and Baldoni were in the midst of a massive PR crisis as news stories began to trickle out speculating about possible tension between Lively and Baldoni, mainly due to the cast no longer following him on social media just as the film was about to premiere. Jones started participating in meetings, calls, and written correspondence to reassert her authority over the account and convey her engagement to Wayfarer, and they really just wanted her to butt out, but she refused. So that was, a big mistake. As soon as she started to get involved, things really went south. Which is, not a situation you want to be in, when it involves the head of the company, but all right. One sec, guys. Okay. Wayfarer and Baldoni asked Abel to recommend a crisis management specialist. So here we're going to get into Jen's argument with Stephanie over Melissa Nathan and TAG, the agency group. We know about that. She did not want Nathan to be hired, but obviously Wayfarer and Abel disagreed. Okay. Abel learned during her initial discussion with Nathan that per her media contacts, a negative story was already being shopped around to multiple outlets, positioning Baldoni's religion as a cult and accusing Baldoni of having fat-shamed Lively after he asked her personal trainer in private about her weight due to his history of severe back pain. So as far as the religion as a cult thing, I know we saw that a couple times. I remember one in particular from the LA Times, and that was a long time ago now, but I do remember seeing that being passed around. Okay. Even though Abel felt strongly that Nathan was the right choice, she knew that Jones would be unhappy with the recommendation. Jones viewed Nathan as a competitor and had a history of bad-mouthing her to anyone who would listen, including to Nathan's own clients. Out of sensitivity to these considerations, Abel advised the Wayfarer team to remain open to other possible options and to decide after meeting Nathan themselves. Abel feared backlash from Jones, but felt strongly that Nathan was the best option, and they ultimately did choose her. So, hang on. After initially pushing back, Abel eventually relented after Jones called her crying and screaming and engaged in some light disparagement of Nathan to placate Jones. And I believe we saw those text messages. She said that even Jen was talking bad about Melissa. It was a pretty weak display, if you ask me. I can't recall exactly what document those text messages were in, but I'm like, if I was talking to my boss and my boss really hated this person, I would probably go with it too. I'm not going to fight with my boss who's in the middle of a manic episode saying all kinds of crazy things about me being on drugs and having, twins when I have fertility issues. I'm just not going to fight that. You know what I mean? So honestly, I don't fault her for that. It was a private conversation. I don't think it's really that big of a deal. So Jones then attempted to derail the engagement and exploited confidential client information to dissuade Wayfarer from moving forward with Nathan. And then, of course, Jamie Heath, the CEO of Wayfarer, said they would make their own decision. Okay. Jones inserted herself into the mix in early August, seeking to box out Nathan and Abel. The problem, however, was that Jones had chosen not to pay attention to Wayfarer leadership's communication strategy or internal decision-making, having long claimed to be too busy with higher-profile clients. Wayfarer was fine with Jones' disengagement, as Abel was their trusted advisor, and they had no interest in being a pawn in Jonesworks' office politics. Okay. In addition, Jones chose to take a lengthy vacation in Europe during this critical period of the press campaign and premiere of the film. Even from afar, Jones' efforts were ham-fisted, unwelcome, and sporadic, given her distance from Wayfarer's day-to-day business. As Jones tried to stir up drama and undermine Abel's authority, Wayfarer and Baldoni focused solely on managing the crisis at hand. Notwithstanding Jones' general disengagement, it is not true that she was kept in the dark. To the extent she was out of the loop, it was by choice. Jones was copied on virtually all communications during this period and was privy to Wayfarer's predicament and its chosen strategy of non-confrontation. Had there been a smear campaign, as was later alleged by her and the Lively parties, Jones would undoubtedly have known about it in real time. And then we have here some redaction that says admitted Jones in an email on August 21st. Obviously, I don't know who that is. If I had to guess, and again, this is just me guessing, I think it would be Sloan. But that's just a guess. Shot in the dark. So, one sec. At the time, Lively and Baldoni's teams had negotiated an uneasy truce in which neither side would participate in negative coverage of the other. Okay. Lively's team had already broken that truce, but the Wayfarer team did not know that then. As far as they were concerned, it was best for Baldoni, Lively, and the film if both sides agreed to keep the peace, though Wayfarer's team had to date been acting only defensively in responding to press inquiries. But on August 8th, Jones, in another desperate attempt to reinsert herself, contacted a Daily Mail reporter about a story they had published about Baldoni and Lively. She did so in direct violation of Wayfarer's instruction not to talk to the press, given the truce with Lively's team. Okay. Jones bragged to Wayfarer about trading calls with the Daily Mail in an effort to appear engaged on the account. Nathan and Abel were left to deal with the fallout. This blatant disregard of Wayfarer's strategy sparked a chain of unfortunate developments. Sloan and Sony learned that, purportedly, someone from Baldoni's team had been communicating negatively to media, and then we have a redaction there. When Wayfarer's leadership found out, they were livid, as was Sony. All parties were desperate to prevent an all-out slugfest between Lively and Baldoni, just as the film was about to be released to the world. With her reckless and unauthorized activities, Jones had made that scenario much more likely. In response, Wayfarer instructed Jones to cease all activities on its and Baldoni's behalf for the time being, and to let Abel and another LA-based JonesWorks employee, Matthew Mitchell, handle the crisis alongside Nathan. All right. Why does MJ, the lawyer, think she knows everything? Look, I don't know MJ. I have seen her stuff from time to time, but honestly, I think that we're all pretty convinced of our beliefs in this. So I don't totally, I don't want to bash on anybody, even people who have like opposite opinions of me. I know that she and I have very, very different opinions. She's never been rude to me or anything like that. I don't engage with her much, if at all, but I don't have a problem with her. I know that her opinions, I might not like her opinions, but I think that she's not like a bad person, I don't think. So I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but I just want to say there are people that have different opinions than me in this and different reasons for believing the opposite side, and I don't hate them. You know what I mean? I think they're wrong, but I don't dislike them. I think that I don't know them as people, so I just know we have different views on this, and that's fine. So okay. Let's see. With her reckless and unauthorized activities, Jones had made the scenario much more likely. We read that. And Nathan started hearing from other journalists that Sloan was planting negative stories. Remember, Leslie Sloan is Blake's publicist, about Baldoni, and was under the impression that Baldoni's camp had broken the truce. So all Stephanie Jones had to do was shut the fuck up and collect a paycheck. And she couldn't do that. If she had just shut the fuck up and taken her bag, none of this would have happened. All right. At this time, Nathan started hearing from other journalists. All right. Yet Jones, panicked about being blamed, refused to be sidelined, insisting that she needed to contact Sony's and Lively's PR teams to clarify that she had not planted any negative stories about Lively. He told her not to do that, to which Jones responded that she could do whatever she wants to clear her name and that Wayfarer could not stop her from making calls. Desperate to salvage her reputation with Lively and Sony, Jones emailed several key Sony executives working on the film to declare that she was in Europe with her husband, partner at WME, Jason Oates. This is giving my father, the inventor of toaster strudel. Like, what the fuck? And to place all blames on her team. In her attempt to save face, Jones ruptured her relationship with Wayfarer and Baldoni. God damn, this lady's crazy. All right. Although Jones ultimately agreed to stand down, Wayfarer and Baldoni expressed that they had lost all trust in her. After parachuting in for self-interested reasons, nearly blowing up the truce with Lively's team. I'm having trouble with that word tonight, guys. Truce with Lively's team and lashing out when told to stop. Jones became a magnet for drama when it was least needed. Yeah, we all know one of those. As September drew near, Wayfarer and Baldoni, with the assistance of Abel and through to the finish line. Well, I skipped a line there. Okay. With the assistance of Abel and Nathan, continued their tireless efforts to promote the film, put out fires, and see the project through to the finish. Okay. Stewing in jealousy towards Abel and resentment towards Wayfarer/Baldoni, Jones clearly saw the writing on the wall. Knowing she would soon be terminated, Jones started taking steps transparently intended to make it harder to cut her loose. Okay. Those steps included sending email after unwelcome email to Heath and others. God. Long after their relationship had been irrevocably ruptured, to lay the groundwork to contest that she had been detached and non-responsive for years. Okay. This was especially galling as Jones had been in Europe and largely incommunicado. Well, thank God for that. I think that was probably a welcome break for them. But save for a few texts of support to Baldoni prior to the premiere, and then her disastrous effort at self-preservation for weeks during the critical month of August when the film premiered. All right. In contrast with Abel, who was loyal, trusted, and even-tempered while working around the clock through the crisis, Jones was a walking disaster whose self-absorption, disloyalty, and insubordination had become a significant headache. God. Rather than accept the end of the Wayfarer relationship with professionalism and decorum, Jones started threatening to sue, demanding exorbitant payment for work not done, and protesting that she had done an amazing job. God. Imagine getting paid so much to be such a fucking dumbass. Like, how do I sign up for that? Jones stewed in resentment and indignity, unable to bear the loss of another JonesWorks client. She set out to take revenge on Abel, Wayfarer, Baldoni, and Nathan. Jones disclosed at least some of Abel's private communications to the Lively parties no later than August 21st. Sloan, Lively's publicist, confirmed as much to Nathan on a phone call that evening. Despite lacking Abel's consent to access, review, or disseminate these communications, Jones and JonesWorks were able to do so without difficulty because, with the iPhone in hand, they could bypass the password protection that would otherwise bar their access. Okay, so maybe it wasn't the cloud that they were able to keep doing that from. Maybe it was the actual physical phone, because I remember when Judge Lyman handed down his ruling on the motion to dismiss, which, a couple of her claims survived. One was dismissed with prejudice, but it was a claim she had ultimately abandoned. And then most of these claims were dismissed without prejudice. And so she had to do it again. And I remember at one point he was saying the issue was that they were getting it from the physical device. It was not transmitted over the cloud. So I guess we'll find out as we read on. So I could have been wrong before. All right. On or about August 24th, Jones took things a step further and attempted to contact Lively directly through a mutual connection. And of course, that's redacted. Whether or not it stays redacted in the coming weeks, we'll find out. A few days later, Jones again reached out, then connected Jones and Lively directly. Okay, so wow, okay. Someone in the chat, because I know one of you is going to know this, and I can't recall off the top of my head. What was the date of the Vanzan lawsuit that it was filed? This is juicy. Yes, it is. This is. This is bad for her. Really bad. But I think that Blake Lively's behavior is repulsive. But ultimately, who's to blame for this giant feud? It's Stephanie Jones. So, wow. All right. September 27th. Okay, got it. Thank you. September, October. It had to be before October. September's probably right, guys. Thank you. Appreciate that. So this was just a little bit before the Vanzan lawsuit was filed. However, they're saying that at the very least, some of the communications that were used were not actually obtained via that subpoena in the Vanzan lawsuit, which doesn't make any sense anyways because Vanzan has nothing to do with Wayfarer or the film. They never had any signed contract as they claimed to be suing for. They had communicated with Lively and transmitted some of these communications without any sort of legal process a month before that lawsuit was ever filed. So, all right. Oh, this is so bad for Jones. Oh, this is delicious. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm sorry. I hate these people, man. I really do. All right. Okay. But if only she had been successful in subpoenaing my bank account information, then she would have all the evidence she needs to prove sexual harassment. I swear to God, these people are fucking morons. Subpoena that, bitch. All right. Reeling from a storm of negative publicity, Lively instructed, and it's redacted. Lively and Jones spoke by phone approximately a week later. Oh, okay. I love this. All right. A few days later, Lively followed up. Okay. However, it's now well known that Jones transmitted the contents of Abel's phone to Lively, who in turn disseminated them more widely, including to the New York Times. Yikes. That's fantastic. My God. This case makes me want to drink, and I don't even drink. Well, I'm reading for you, so you can drink if you want. Okay. September 27th, 2024, I think is the consensus here. So yeah. Long before so they transmitted these communications long before, or at least some of them long before the Vanzan lawsuit was filed. Okay. I don't know when exactly they first transmitted or communicated these things to the New York Times and when they sent them this stuff, but we know from metadata, I believe, that the New York Times had started working on this shit at least a couple months before that article was published and the lawsuit was filed. So, okay. However, it's now well known that Jones transmitted the contents to Lively, who disseminated them to the New York Times. While the contents of Abel's communications do not support the existence of an untraceable smear campaign, they do show that by the time of the film's premiere, Abel and others in Wayfarer's circle held Lively in deep disdain and vented acerbically amongst themselves. These sentiments were the natural result of the Wayfarer party's first-hand knowledge of Lively's vicious behavior and malignant persona. I mean, that's a nice way to put it, right? I mean, I guess you should... Never mind. And the high-stress situation in which they found themselves. Okay. And turning over these materials to Lively, Jones knew full well how they would be used, with slicing, dicing, cherry-picking, massaging, and in some cases, outright alteration. The Lively parties exploited Abel's text messages to great effect. Joining forces with the New York Times, the Lively parties commissioned the hit. However, for different reasons, the Lively parties on the one hand and Jones Works on the other needed to create a veneer of legitimacy. The Lively parties likely anticipated or were told directly, and this is where I can't remember if this was ever brought up in Lively stuff, but I know that this accusation has been brought forth before. The Lively parties likely anticipated or were told directly that the New York Times would not traffic in stolen communications under these circumstances and needed the color of law, thus the Vanzan lawsuit. Jones and Jones Works, for their part, wanted to insulate themselves from legal exposure to Wayfarer for breaches of confidentiality. Sorry, guys, stuff keeps popping up. Oh, what is this letter? Hold on. Let me just check this out, make sure it's nothing we need to look at. I'm gonna paste her. Give me like 30 seconds. Sorry about this. Oh, shit. Okay. So they did file publicly finally a version of Blake Lively's amended initial disclosures. Let's get through this and then we'll skim over that and see what happens. All right. Okay. Where are we at? I think 101. However, for different reasons, the Lively parties on the one hand and Jonesworks on the other hand needed to create a veneer of legitimacy. So we've been through that. Okay. Jones and Jonesworks, for their part, wanted to insulate themselves from legal exposure to Wayfarer for breaches of confidentiality. Okay. Accordingly, on September 27th, working hand in glove with Jones and Jonesworks, the Lively parties and their counsel at initiated a sham legal proceeding in the New York State Court, Vanzan Incorporated versus Doe's 1 through 10 inclusive. The sham lawsuit was nothing more than a transparent ploy to obtain subpoena power. The plaintiff, Vanzan Incorporated, is a corporate entity affiliated with Lively and Ryan Reynolds and entirely unrelated to the film or the Wayfarer parties. The lawsuit asserted 3 causes of action: breach of contract, breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, and faithless servant against Doe defendants only. It does not explain how or why Vanzan was unable to identify the proper defendants, which is especially notable in the context of a breach of contract action. Exactly. Instead, Vanzan, Lively, and Reynolds, and Amended implausibly claim not to be privy to the identities of its own contractual counterparties or its own employees, contractors, agents, or representatives. Maybe their identities are hidden in Ezra Hudson's fucking email inbox, along with every email I sent asking her, "Hello, did you try to subpoena my Google account?" Just saying. The lawsuit is devoid of specific allegations against anyone, much less Abel, and relies exclusively on boilerplate legal jargon. Notably, Vanzan never requested the assignment of a judge, substituted the Doe defendants for named parties, or served the complaint on any defendant. The only docket entries are the complaint and a notice of dismissal filed on December 19th, the day before Lively filed her CRD complaint against the Wayfarer parties. Yikes! Okay. Add Lively to this filing. I mean, they can't. This is Jones versus Abel, so it's a related kind of action, but it's not like Lively's not a thing here. So these are the counterclaims. So she wants Stephanie Jones to basically have to pay. If I believe if she is no, those are the fuck. What are those called? Fuck. I lost it, guys. Doesn't matter. Right now, we're just gonna go through this thing. But she's not a party in Jones versus Abel. So that can't really be a thing. All right. So she's trying to actually, I think, bring Stephanie Jones into the Wayfarer defense, which is like, so if they're found to like owe any money to Lively or anything, or she's awarded damages, Stephanie Jones will have to pay part of that. But I think that was called, what the fuck was that called? Can somebody tell me? It's going to bother me all night. I mean, I can look it up, but I don't feel like it right now. Did Shapiro file this? I don't know. Not there yet. Okay. Look, Blake Lively, the only thing in Lauren's Google account are Amazon orders for horseshoe shirts and DoorDash receipts for sending me all this mustard. Oh, yeah, indemnification. That was it. So this is not the indemnification. That's my bad. I'm getting confused. Because, of course, I am. I'm not a lawyer. Yes, I do. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Instead, Vanzan, Lively, and Reynolds and Manat implausibly claim not to be privy to the identities of its own contractual counterparties or its own employees, contractors, agents, or representatives. The lawsuit is devoid of specific allegations against anyone, much less Abel, and relies exclusively on boilerplate legal jargon. Notably, Vanzan never requested the assignment of a judge, substituted Doe defendants. We've got all through all that. The same day the lawsuit was filed, September 27th, Jones warned a departing employee not to work for Abel because her business wouldn't be around much longer. Once the lawsuit was filed, the Lively parties used it to issue a subpoena to Jonesworks for data stored on Abel's phone, including troves of private emails and text messages picked up via the application of highly generic search terms. The information turned over to Lively included communications that were plainly protected by the attorney-client privilege. Since there were no identifiable parties and no party had been served, the subpoenas were issued without notice, depriving Abel of any knowledge of the subpoena, much less the opportunity to object. Abel is informed and believes, and based thereon alleges, that the sham lawsuit was contrived by the lively parties in Jones, acting in concert to facilitate and cover up Jones' release of the data extracted from Abel's phone and personal accounts under the guise of legal process, without risking detection by interested parties such as Abel, who could have intervened to stop the flagrant abuse of process. Jesus. Okay. Samantha Katz should be getting more heat on this lawsuit. I haven't heard much about her. I mean, she's really only involved in the Vanzan part of this, right? So I don't know. I don't know what happened there, man. But I haven't heard of that attorney at all since, which is weird. All right. As planned by the parties upon receipt of the sham subpoena on or about October 1st, Jones and Jonesworks blithely surrendered the entire contents of Abel's iPhone communications for a second time, creating a veneer of legitimacy and affording Jones and Jonesworks plausible deniability once the New York Times came through for Lively. It is on this pretext that Jones and Jonesworks counsel later described responding to a court-ordered subpoena. As a result of Jones' malicious scheme, Abel's life has been turned upside down. Her career and reputation have been destroyed, her private information leaked, and her email inbox and social media pages filled with a daily stream of death threats and abuse. She has watched her client list evaporate and the viability of her once promising business cast into doubt. Abel lost control of her longtime phone number and, along with it, access to her most sensitive accounts and decades worth of contacts. Only after months of chaos and hundreds of calls with untold numbers of customer support reps did Abel restore some semblance of order in her life. The backlash against Wayfarer and Baldoni has been equally devastating, with Baldoni wrongfully labeled as a sex pest, his accolades rescinded, and his future projects thrown into doubt. In an unimaginable invasion of Abel's privacy and dignity, Jones possesses and controls the full contents of Abel's iPhone, including her texts, emails, and photos. Abel lives in fear of what's to come, given the vast troves of personal data in the possession of this hostile and vengeful actor. As a result of Jones and Jonesworks' tortious conduct, Abel has suffered enormous harm to her personal and professional life. All of this harm has accrued in the state of California, where Abel lives and works. Okay. So we have first cause is a violation of Penal Code 502, Section 502. Let's see. Jones and Jonesworks violated the provisions of California Penal Code Section 502C by doing the following acts. They accessed and obtained, altered, disseminated, or otherwise used her data, computer system, and network in order to devise and execute a scheme and artifice to defraud and deceive and wrongfully control and obtain property and data. Let's see. All right. Accessing and causing to be accessed, taking and causing to be taken, copying, causing to be copied, using and causing to be used computer services, namely her personal Gmail account, the email account maintained by her business, RWA Communications, and Abel's iCloud data, including her texts and photos. As a direct and proximate result of Jones and Jonesworks' acts in violation of California Penal Code Section 502C, Abel has suffered damages in an amount to be proven at trial. In doing the acts herein alleged, Jones and Jonesworks acted with oppression, fraud, malice, and in conscious disregard of Abel's rights, and Abel is therefore entitled to punitive and exemplary damages. Okay. They are liable to her for her attorney's fees and costs. Let's see. Second cause is conversion. I don't know if they meant to redact this or not, so I'm going to scroll past it. So she has a possessory interest in that phone number. It's upon her termination, they substantially interfered with her ownership or interest in the phone number. Abel did not consent to Jones or Jonesworks' conversion of the phone number and suffered harm with Jones and Jonesworks' conduct, which was a substantial factor in causing. As a direct and proximate result, Abel has suffered damages in an amount to be proven at trial. Jones engaged in the above alleged conduct with oppression, fraud, and malice. Accordingly, Abel is entitled to an award of punitive and exemplary damages in an amount to be proven at trial. Okay, they have promissory fraud on the third cause of action. Let's see. Okay, so this is where they promised her that if she gave up the device, they would release her phone number, and they lied about that. Abel reasonably relied on the promise made by Jonesworks. Okay. But they never intended to perform the promise when it was made. Instead, they intended to dupe Abel into giving up the iPhone and passcode so they could access, copy, and disseminate the information from it without authorization of the private data stored on the device, without authorization for the private data stored on the device and information from accounts accessible from the device. Jonesworks also intended to and did retain possession of Abel's phone number to cause chaos in her life and harm her personal and professional interests. So these are the 2FA accounts, so things that she needed, like her phone number to get the password for. Checkings and saving accounts, so bank accounts, retirement accounts, email accounts, utilities, patient portals for medical care, rideshare apps, food delivery, loyalty accounts to airlines, and social media accounts. Okay, which social media accounts is a big deal for a publicist. It took Abel multiple months and hundreds of hours to regain control over these accounts. She was forced to hire 2 separate IT experts to restore access to Microsoft 365 and Gmail. She still does not have access to her empowered 401k. She lost decades worth of contacts. The practical impact was enormous. Jones and Jonesworks were aware that the other planned to defraud Abel, agreed with one another, and intended that the wrongful acts pleaded herein be committed. Accordingly, they're equally liable to Abel for fraud by reason of their conspiracy to commit the tort. So she has what, 3 or 4 causes of action here? Is that it? Third. So they have 3 causes of action. So some of this stuff they did not amend on. Let me see if I can pull it up to figure it out. Where's that order? Today's the 31st. It was a little while back. There it is. No, this isn't it. Is it? No, it's too short. That can't be it. No. I think I clicked on the wrong thing here. Hang on. Oh, that's a proposed. No, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong thing, dude. Hang on. I think it's probably this one. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So what did she have before that? I mean, this is pretty long, so let me instead actually look up. Nope, not there. Okay, if we can find the first amended counterclaim, it'd be good. Sorry, just bear with me here a sec. I'm digging. There's the answer. Defenses. That's not it, is it? No, it's not. Okay, I think this is it. That's not the amended, though. This is it, right? Yeah. Okay. I guess she didn't have that many before. For some reason, I thought she had like 7. I guess I made that up in my head. Huh. All right. Whatever. All right. Let me pull this up. This is what just came up. Pacer. I'm not saying Sony is innocent. I'm saying in this filing they're talked about as being in a shitty position too, and I found that interesting. Huh. Yeah, I guess so. All right, let's see. Amended FRCP 26A1 initial disclosures. Let's see. Okay. Blake, Ryan, Leslie Sloan, Stephanie Jones, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Sarowitz, Wayfarer. I mean, this is not surprising. These here. Let's see what else is on there. Jed Wallace, Street Relations, Brian Friedman, of course. Babcock. We have some executives from Wayfarer. Matthew Mitchell, who they mentioned before, worked at Jones Works. We know Case and Coslow worked for Tag. Colleen Hoover. Brandon Feekins. Wait, professionally known as Brandon Sklinner. I didn't know his last name was Feekins. Huh. That's... Yeah, I'd probably change my name too. Shit. I'm sorry, man. I mean, I got nothing against the guy except he's boring. Holy shit. Okay. So here's what he, I guess, would be contacted about: the party's alleged conduct, the sexually discriminating, harassing, and other inappropriate or unwelcome actions, conduct, or comments made during production of the film, complaints or discussions about the work environment or conduct on the set, the production, editing, cut, and creative process associated with the film. Why would he know about that shit? Efforts then taken to market or promote the film, publicity surrounding the film, the retaliation campaign alleged by Miss Lively. I don't... Okay, sure. Jenny Slate, of course. But Sklinner? I don't know. Sklinner's better than Feekins. I don't know. Like I said, I have nothing against the guy except he seems like a little bland. But, you know. Alex Sachs, who knows the producer. Isabella Ferrer, who threw that tantrum and used some wild language when she was trying to avoid a subpoena. Yikes. Angie Giannetti, we know that. Tara Grants, Josh Greenstein. Greenstein, we know that we've seen some of his deposition. Very small excerpts. Warren Zavala, agent at WME. We've also seen small excerpts from his deposition. Let's see. Whoops, my bad guy. Danny Greenberg, was he Justin's former agent, I think? I'm not sure. Patrick Whitesell. Candace. They got Candace, they got Perez on there, of course. Don Saladino, the trainer. The one who Justin was asking about, I guess, her weight because of the lift that he was going to have to do. Whitney Franz. Guys, who the fuck is Whitney Franzway? I have no idea who that is. Whitney Franzway. Oh, I've seen this girl before. I just didn't know her name. Okay. First gained recognition after appearing on season 21 of The Bachelor with Nick Viall. Girl, yikes. Good thing he didn't pick her because that guy's a mess. Interesting. I don't know why the fuck she would be on there, though. Does anyone remember why she's listed in Blake's disclosures? That's kind of weird. Adam Investigations Council. Wayfarer's Investigation Council. Okay. Andrea Ahamian. Unit production. Alright, cool. Kevin Alexander, Miss Lively's driver. Claire Ayub, of course. We know who Claire Ayub is. She took that recording of Steve Sarowitz without his knowledge or consent and acted all friendly with him and kind of set him up to be comfortable with her and say whatever, and then turned it over to Blake Lively without ever being subpoenaed. Not sure if they were even connected formally, officially, or above board, like bizarre. Bizarre that she did what she did. Also, the recording makes them both look terrible. Vivian Baker, the makeup artist, we saw some of her deposition. Emily Baldoni, we know who Emily Baldoni is. Okay. Russell Barnes, production designer. Betty Boos. Betty Boos and Betty Buzz. There's Blakely Inc. Alexis Bledel, actress. Alexis Bledel. Hold on. I'm like, I'm so, I don't know if I'm supposed to know who this is, but I don't. I'm sorry, guys. What's the connection here? I know she played Rory Gilmore, but what's the connection to this film? Was she involved? Like, what the hell would she have to do with it? I guess she knows Blake from the Sisterhood movie, right? But what does she have to do with this film? Why is Alexis Bledel in there? Exactly. And the only thing I can think of, right? Because I know who she is. I just don't know what her connection here is, really. As soon as I saw her face, I was like, yes, I know that's the Gilmore Girls chick. But I don't understand the connection here. And I guess from what I can tell, it's because Blake's only people who are like saying, oh yeah, Justin's a problem, are from like other projects? I don't fucking know. I don't know if these people ever interacted with Justin. Like, so what? Like, okay, let's look at this again. The party's alleged conduct, complaints, or discussions about the work environment or conduct on the set of the film, the production, editing, cut, and creative processes associated with the film. So, is this just stuff Blake told her? Is she just supposed to say, Blake told me this? Like, what is the point of this? Why is this chick here? I don't get it. Maybe they visited the set. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Were they in a movies together? I don't know, but I don't understand the connection to this film, this environment, other than Blake might have told her some shit. You know what I mean? Blake told her about garden variety crap. Dude, I don't know. Oh, so weird. Okay. All right. Todd Black, exec producer. Scooter Braun. Scooter Braun. Okay. Ann Carroll, the hairstylist. Chelsea Carey, the intimacy coordinator. Interesting. Blake remembers who the intimacy coordinator is. Uh-huh. Okay. She refused to meet with her, so. Barclay Crawford, executive editor of Daily Mail. Andrew Chrysomalis, co-founder and chairman of Betty B Holdings. Okay. George Dewey, Max Effort. Ari Emanuel, of course, we know is the CEO of WME, or was, at least. I think that he's no longer in that position, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Family Hive LLC, which is Blake Brown Beauty. Okay, so she put all of her Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants co-stars on here. What a fucking loser. I'm sorry. America Ferrera, actress and director, they were in Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants together. So I guess she put everyone from Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants together here. She doesn't legitimately have anyone else from the set of It Ends With Us that has any fucking problems with Justin. All right. That's amazing. Taryn Fisher. Yep. There we go. Hold on. Let me make sure this is who I think it is. Yeah, okay. Never mind. This is not who I thought it was. Friend of Colleen Hoover. Okay. Shasti Flaw. Sorry. That's amazing. I mean, what is Shasti gonna testify to? That Blake was a bitch? Like, what? Why would you? Okay, whatever, dude. Okay. She included her dentist too. Oh no, yeah, Shasti is on there. So was Perez, and so was Candace. Remember, this is Blake's list of disclosures. Gigi Hadid. I guess we know why Gigi Hadid stopped talking to Blake. Fuck. I don't even know anything about Gigi Hadid, except that she's some sort of famous person for some reason, dating Bradley Cooper, and is no longer friends with Blake. Tina Havilis, Miss Lively's assistant. Natasha Heath, of course. We know Natasha Heath. Christy Hall, a screenwriter. Carolina Hurley. Hugh Jackman. Again, Hugh Jackman didn't really have anything to do with this film, but okay. Jonesworks LLC. Molly Caro, Miss Lively's assistant. Okay. Interesting. Is a CEO of Skyline. Skyline is the agency that made the website. What was it called? It's their lawsuit website, Justin's lawsuit website. It ends with something. I can't fucking remember. Melanie, I don't know how to say that. It's a makeup artist. Robin Lively, Miss Lively's sister. Well, pack it in. I'm sold. She's telling the truth. All right. Riley Long, executive tag. Mike McIntyre. Danny Megan, Sony. Okay. AJ Marbury, Mr. Baldoni's assistant. Okay. Dervla McNeese. That is a tag person. Adam Monshine. Okay, Adam Monshine is the actor who played I think it was the OB in the movie. So when Blake claims that she was forced to be like naked in that scene, where Adam is playing the OB, he has come out in the press and said that lady was fully clothed and wearing biker shorts. What is your problem? All right, let's see. Ahmed Mitchell, film producer. Sarah Nathan, of course, Melissa Nathan's sister, a reporter at Page 6. Alex Newsdaughter, who was in the cast. What was her role again? Alex. Oh, I'm thinking of Alex Sachs. My bad. Alex Newsdaughter's a guy. Who's this guy? Oh, okay, he was young Atlas. Young Atlas. Okay, not Alex Sachs. Okay. No More, domestic violence nonprofit. The party's alleged conduct, efforts taken to market or promote the film, publicity surrounding the film. Okay. Stacey O'Neill, Jenny Slate's manager. Liz Plank. Why is Liz Plank on here? I mean, I know why, but I'm saying, like, from an outsider perspective who doesn't know much about this, why would Liz Plank be on here? Because she's like their friend, you know what I mean? And she worked with Justin on his podcast, and then, oh no, all of a sudden, when she says something went wrong, Liz Plank jumps ship and is real quiet about it now. Paylocity, which is Steve Sarowitz. You know, the party's alleged conduct, defendant Sarowitz alleged damages and commitment to pledge funds to harm Miss Lively, Mr. Reynolds, and their families. So they think Paylocity can speak to that for some reason. Jack Pan, Sony. Okay. Brian Perretz, Miss Lively's driver. How many drivers does Miss Lively need? My God, she's driving me fucking nuts. Rains Feldman and Luttrell, Investigation Council. Range Media, Mr. Baldoni's talent agency. Jenna Redfield, content producer. Jamie Reynolds, Mr. Reynolds' niece. Why the fuck does that have anything to do with anything? Okay, Ryan Reynolds' niece and Ryan Reynolds' mother? Okay. Lisa Rogers, production supervisor. Let's see. Teamster driver. What's a Teamster driver? Okay, director of entertainment at Tag. Brian Singer, we knew about that. Wayfarer CFO. It's herself from WME. Cynthia Barnes Slater, head of HR at Wayfarer. Sony Pictures. Okay. Mr. Baldoni's assistant. Huh? Weird. It's like, it's almost like she named Taylor Swift right here in her disclosures. Okay. The party's alleged conduct, complaints, or discussions about the work environment of conduct on the set of the film, the production, editing, cut, and creative processes associated with the film, publicity surrounding the film, the retaliation campaign alleged by Miss Lively, and resulting damages suffered. It's almost like It is almost like she named Taylor Swift right here with all this shit. But yet she acts outraged when they try to depose her or whatever. Dumb bitch. Not Taylor. Blake. Justin Gray Stone, Miss Lively's manager. Yeah, we knew that. Okay. Colorist, makeup artist. Another intimacy coordinator. Surprised she remembers who they are. Amber Tamblyn. That is another traveling pants lady, I think. Yep. Amber Tamblyn. Let me just double check. Damn right. So she's got all her sisterhood of the traveling pants people on here. Like, what is your problem? Julie Tate, reporter at the New York Times. Okay. More Blake Brown Beauty, Miss Lively's assistant. Megan Toohey, of course, the reporter at the New York Times who authored the article. James Vituska, the reporter of the Daily Mail. We know about James. He's changed his story a billion times, so I stopped paying attention to him. More Sony. Okay. James Knobloch, a social media manager at JonesWorks. Producers Guild of America. Okay. Shane Reed, it ends with us. Editor, the New York Times. Vision PR. Vision PR is Leslie Sloan, Blake's publicist. WME. Okay. Right. In addition, Miss Lively anticipates that other unknown individuals may have discoverable information that may be used to support her claims or defenses. Miss Lively incorporates by reference any other individuals disclosed in any other party's Rule 26A1 disclosures, including those disclosed by the parties on February 18th, and reserves the right to obtain discovery in support of their claims and or defenses from such individuals, and further reserves the right to supplement pursuant to Rule 26E. Okay. I don't think we really need to read the rest of this. But yeah, I think we're good. Anyways, no, Andy's name was not on those disclosures, no. Amber Tamblyn had a nervous breakdown on Insta. I mean, I believe it. I just didn't see it because I don't pay attention to her. Justice for Rory Gilmore. Shut up, man. All right, I got some stuff I got to do, and then I got to pack. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to call it a night, I think. Well, hold on. Sorry, I just saw David Jingers' fourth mugshot for the first time. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, beautiful. Like he calls the teenager. You got this. This crowd isn't gonna know what I'm talking about, but this is a win for me. Okay, what a fucking loser. All right. Anyways, I'm gonna go. You know what? I can make time for that. I can make time for this guy's arrest report. Bruce. Bruce. Can we get in here for like 30 minutes? We'll make it quick. I'll message you. Thanks, guys. See ya.